Hey, welcome. Julian Perlingiro here, my Hairbrain Nation, and a special welcome to my Davos family. I'm going to be doing a haircut here on the lovely model Juice. We have Wayne Woodruff filming and fielding questions, so please feel free to ask as many questions as possible, and always remember, hit the share button, guys.
Hi, guys.
That was Wayne, guys. All right, so on Juice, I'm going to be working a bob variation, right? So I'll be working a heavy shape. I will be putting a little bit of graduation in. I used Juice for a modeling job about a month ago, was it? Maybe like 6 weeks or so. Yeah. So you'll be seeing some beautiful photographs coming from that. She recently had her color done by great colorists that I get to work with. You can check out her Instagram. I put it on the flyer, and her name's Roberta. She did the color yesterday, so you'll get to see that as it dries. All right, so like most haircuts, I like to start out by finding the natural parting. So I started just combing the hair back, letting it separate so that it works back to the natural distribution in through the crown area. Now, from there, I'm going to start with my heavy line. Now, I said I'm going to be working a bob variation. It's not going to be a pure one-length bob. It'll have a little bit of graduation to it, which I think will work great on Juice's hair. I want to take it a little bit shorter than last time, which also I think will be a good reason to graduate it. And what it'll do is it'll just help the hair sit in really neatly, but it all starts out with bringing that line in. So sectioning down the center back. Now, I'm going to start very classic, taking my sections parallel to the cutting line, and then I'll be combing them down quite clean, very close to the skin.
Oh, you did a pretty good job last time.
Yeah, look at that, not bad, and that's grown out, guys.
Woo-woo! Sorry.
No, that's okay. You can give a woohoo whenever you feel necessary. All right, so like I said, just bringing that length up a little bit, have a little bit of hair in here on the hairline. I'm going to work that away. It's only a few, so I can just work with the scissors. Now, starting out, like I said, I'm going to start with a very heavy shape, working really blunt, everything coming down to the one length. And what I want to do is I want to establish the outline before I start to introduce the graduation. What that'll help me do, it'll help me control, help me see the hair a little bit better. But again, right now, trying to keep everything really clean as far as the sectioning and keeping the sections parallel to the hairline. Go on, Wayne, did we have a question?
Yeah, exciting that we've got a live model today.
Oh, yeah.
So.
Awesome. With the classic cutting foundation, that I do normally on Thursdays, I think, working with the doll heads really, can help with the fundamentals and really establishing the classic foundation, but now taking that, and adapting it to a client, to a live model, always a bit more exciting, especially, when we think in the salon, we're working on models, not doll heads. So as you can see, keeping the sections really clean, everything parallel to the cutting line.
Now, how do you determine the size of your sections? Because we are working with a live model
well,
here today, so I'm sure each one would be different.
Yeah, density of hair, guys. And then also, the most important thing is that I can see the guideline, right? When we're doing one length, the size of the section, you can get a little bit larger as long as you can see the guideline and control the hair. Because there isn't any over direction, there's no elevation, everything's being brought down. So the consistency isn't affected as much if the sections are a little bit larger. And this will be my last section on this first side.
So, a couple questions.
Yep.
What scissors are you using? What comb are you using?
All right, as always, guys, working with my BMAX scissors. These are, I'll show you in 1 second. These are a 5.5, right? So these are BMAC, which is my preferred scissor. Comb is the YS Park. I'm not sure the series, but it's your standard size.
Looks like a
wide part.
339 to me. But
There we go.
don't quote me on it. They're
Hey,
all pretty good.
We'll go with a 339. Again, bringing everything down, keeping the scissor really blunt to the section. Combing down quite tight on the skin.
Got some love from Netta from Lithuania.
Thank you. You know, glad to always have the harebrained, you know, community joining us and, you know, promoting education. So thank you guys for viewing.
Got Alicia from Little Rock, part of the Davness family, and we've got Samantha from the UK.
All right. Well, hello again, everybody. Julian here, working on a bob variation. We have Wayne Woodruff is filming and fielding questions today.
Yeah, so if I don't do a good job filming, just let me know.
Well, you know,
It's not my forte, but
if Wayne doesn't do a good job, don't worry. We're going to tell Randy. But I'm sure he's watching, making sure you're doing all right, Wayne. All right, so now working the second side. Again, working the same sectioning, working the same approach, combing the hair down really clean. And guys, remember, just building that bob line in through the back now. Any little neck hair, I'm going to start to remove that.
okay, so one more technical question.
Yeah.
What strings do you like on your bass?
Good question. Well, with these big hands, I like the biggest gauge I can possibly get. I do believe that they are the Diodario brand, but awesome question. I have the guitars there for show. The 6 strings, my hands don't really fit around those necks very well. I had to quickly switch from 6 string to 4 string. All right, so you see working this line up. Again, working it right into the guideline from the first half, keeping the elevation very low, combing the hair down onto the skin. Trying to get the hair distributed very evenly and combing it into where it naturally wants to fall.
Okay, so we've got a question. You need to come to educate in the Midwest. Do you ever visit the Midwest?
Yeah, I love the Midwest. I was actually just talking, not that it's a little bit north of the Midwest. I'm not sure if you consider it Midwest. I was just talking to a stylist out there about doing a seminar in Grand Rapids, Michigan, which is also part of our Davness network. But no, I love doing education, really, you know, anywhere throughout the states. I mean, if you guys are interested in doing classes, doing a seminar in your salon, you know, go on to my Instagram at Julian Pearl. That's P-E-R-L. And if you just hit email, my email is right there. And you can email me and we can start looking at different options. You know, you can also go to my website at goldpig.me. And that has a little bit of information. But I think, you know, everything starts out with a conversation, guys. You know, just like when you're working in the salon and you have a client come in, you know, the first thing you want to do to find out that client's needs is give a consultation. Well, you know, as far as education, it's the same. I look at it the same way. No 2 salons are the same. No 2 stylist needs are exactly the same. So, you know, I mean, I have formats to the classes, but they're all custom built and varied to suit the salon's needs.
And if you are part of the Davness network, please reach out to your distributor or your sales associate, and they'll be able to help you book Julian into your area.
Yeah. You know, so there's a lot of different options. You know, like Wayne just said, with the Davness network, you know, we also have a live class on Hairbrained, HB Live, where you can go on, for those of you that don't have the opportunity to travel, you can go on Hairbrained, hit an HB Live, And myself, I did a class based on bob variations. Gerard has done a class on innovative cutting, which was absolutely amazing. We have Lupe, who did a color class, and Sharon Blaine did a style class. So there's a lot of different options, for you guys out there. Also, if you go to my YouTube, you can see a lot of the shorts of the haircuts, short videos. All right, so now that I've worked up to the top of the ear on both sides, I'm going to take my next section straight through.
So quick question from Sam Johnson. Would you potentially do this cut with a razor as well?
You could, and I mean, using my friend Gerard as an example, Gerard's a master, with the razor. And I've seen him do really beautiful blunt shapes, and it comes down to, the angle and how you use the razor to achieve the line. But by all means, if you're a razor cutter, there's some great ways of cutting some really blunt shapes using that tool.
So Marina's got a question.
Yeah.
Jillian, what's the difference between putting tension versus no tension when cutting a bob?
Well, first, no tension is almost impossible. Because as soon as we touch the hair, we affect the tension, right? So minimal tension. But now with Juice's hair, I've cut her hair before. I know her hair is quite heavy, right? And it's also quite straight. So I can withstand by putting a little bit of tension to just get a little bevel on the edge, which would work fine. Now, if the hair had wave to it or certain textures, that might not be the best case. But knowing her hair, knowing she has quite a bit, that little bit of tension is going to actually help me create a nice line. All right, so now coming through the sides, I want to comb the hair really clean and down over the ear. So try to get this to sit as neat as possible. I know a lot of people will do the little tap and things like that, which is cool. I'm going to try to just set the hair really nice and then hold it with very little tension and then work it through. So I'm not going to really tap. Now I need to push the hair out a little bit away from the skin because my scissors stick into the skin a little bit. So, this is always a very particular area. So see, just getting that really as clean as possible, with combing the hair down, nice and neat, controlling it, very delicate, and then seeing that it blends through.
Okay, a couple more questions coming in from
Yep.
Dominic. How do you tackle the nape area whirl? Do you use scissors or a razor for it? If there's a whirl in the hairline.
If I'm going to remove the hairline, I'd probably use my scissors. If I was going to try to blend it into the line, well, then I would have to really take into account, using as little tension as possible. But again, if I was going to remove any jump in the hairline, I'd probably, I might use my trimmers. You could use a razor. I have to say, I'm more of a scissor cutter, but I've worked with a lot of razor cutters, and I like to be able to think that I can hold my own with a razor. But working with razor cutters like Gerard Scarpesi from Hairbrained, he's a true master at the razor. So
Okay, Sinead Gregory, would you always tilt the head away instead of keeping it straight when cutting through the sides?
Yeah, both. Like you can see now that I'm pushing the head down, what it does is it gives me a good aim and vision of the line. So by tilting the head, if the head's up, it's really hard to kind of see exactly what I'm cutting. So by tilting it, it just gives me a better access to the cutting line. And then also get my scissors in there cleaner. Now some will say that, well, when you lift the head, that's going to get droopy. Well, not if you take it into account. You can counter that by increasing the amount of tension a little bit. And what that'll do is that'll take that away.
Great. Mario Volterra, looks like it's really light tension. Is her hair awfully fine?
It's straight, Mario. She has quite a bit though, but it is very straight. It's, I would say, a fine hair shaft, but density she has quite a bit. So now I'm just going to pull that out. Just hold that in place and work that in. But yeah, just really delicate, and I think with the bob lines, the whole approach to the hair, it's a very delicate approach, and it's a very precise approach. So I don't want to do anything, too heavy-handed, so to speak. All right, so now I have my line through on both sides. So now what I'm going to start to do is I'm going to start to graduate it a little bit. So now with the graduation, I'm going to start in the back, just above the curvature of the head. So you see, where I stopped my section is really important. It works with where the curvature of the head is. And if I take the comb and just place it there, you'll see where the comb comes off the head, where it starts to curve. Well, that's where I'm going to start the graduation. So the top of the occipital, where it transitions into the crown area. I'll take a vertical diagonal section, and I'm going to elevate that up and start to graduate on top of the line. So right away you see it just starts to put that graduation just right into the line. Now once I'm happy with that, I'm going to keep taking my sections. I'll continue combing and elevating slightly up, and then following right on the guideline.
So I just want to give a shout out to everybody from the international community. It's great seeing Hairbrain grow and becoming more international. We've got Kuwait, Cancun, Puerto Rico, the UK, Australia, Seattle, New Jersey. So it's amazing to see everybody.
Yeah. And that's, I think, one of the great things about the community. It is so broad and so international. And for those of you that it might be new to, you might not realize, how much information, that you can see, about the industry and about education. All right, so now you see the sections coming all the way through, right? So just take that all the way through. Now, another reason that I put the outline in first, because now when I'm cutting it, I can be sure that I can see it and I'm not going to disturb the outline. So just working this through really light again.
So what are the primary benefits of either starting with your graduation first when working a bob like this, or starting with it, over the line?
Well, I think if you do it on top of the line, you get a more continuous looking line, whereas if you start with the graduation, it seems to lift up and be a bit steeper, right? So it just depends on the look that you're going for, more than anything. With this, I wanted it to be more of a bob with graduation, rather than, your classic form of a graduation with a bob sitting on top of it.
Okay, Samantha, hi from Scotland. Are you over-directing the graduation?
Yeah, so you can see now what I'm doing is I'm combing that hair just slightly back, elevating it up each section, and then working right into the outline through the front. So the graduation width is going to be very low. It's going to sit just on the outline, just enough to control the hair and give it a little bit of a bevel.
Okay, and James Nicklin would like to know, how much of the outline would you leave?
Well, it depends on the density, James. And then also, obviously, the look that you're going for. The more, I can kind of generalize, the more of the outline you leave, the heavier the shape's going to be, which might be good for finer textures of hair. But certain textures where the density is quite high, you might start that graduation, like with Juice's hair, the first section that went through from the back to the front, I started elevating right from that point on, because Juice has quite a bit of hair. Now, if the hair was, a lot finer, rather than starting at the bottom of the curve, I might start at the top of the curve. So here, I might start at this point and then start graduating above it, right? So it just comes down to, first of all, the look that you're trying to achieve, and then matching the look to the density. So now I can really see that I have enough outline through the side. I'm still working to that point, and I can see the guideline right underneath it, right to that point in the front. So each section, the graduation drops forward more until I reach the one length point at the very, very front.
Okay, so quick question from Jocelyn Jones. Do you always work clockwise, or do you just simply move around the head, then to the side, from side to side?
I will generally start on the side that I'm cutting downhill first, right? I find that I build a better flow, and it's more natural for me to control this side, where on this side it's a little bit trickier to control. So by doing the side that's a bit easier first, I can use that as a guideline for the second half of the haircut. So what I did was I did outline on the left, outline on the right. Now I'm doing outline on the I'm doing the graduation on the left, then I'll do the graduation on the right.
Okay, hit that share button, keep those questions coming.
Yeah, guys,
answer them as they come through.
Great questions today, guys. Always good to have a forum where, we can interact with one another.
All right, so Stephanie would like to know, are there any products in the hair to assist your cutting, or is it just water?
Right now, just water. If I do have a preference, what I generally use is the blow dry primer. All right, this is a great product for cutting, as a cutting lotion, because it's not too heavy in the hair, and it doesn't make the hair too slippery. But also what helps Juice's hair, and I don't need anything because it does have fresh color from yesterday, so the cuticle is really smooth, so it's easy for me to comb through. What we'll do is, also when you guys see the color, as I finish, I'll have Roberta, who did the color, and her Instagram is on the flyer that I posted. What I'll do is I'll have her post the formula for you guys so you can see how she achieved this gorgeous red.
Yeah, and using Davines color as well.
Oh yeah, obviously, yeah. Everything, all the color line that was used was Davines color. So now working the same method on the other side. So take that first section, vertical, diagonal. Right. Now what I do. I know, someone said that last week. They said, you just said do. And I got a silly sense of humor, so I thought, like, Juice is laughing. I thought it was hysterical. I'm like, yeah, I did just say do. So what I do is when I section off the new half, I go back and section off the first half. So that way, when I'm checking, I'm looking at the same amount of hair from side to side, right? So I can really see the balance, and I can have a really clean, guideline.
So quick question,
Yep.
How would you change your approach if the hair had a tendency to flip when you take your sections?
Well, graduation is great for hair that wants to flick because it kind of controls it and helps it want to sit in. So this would be a great technique for hair. Now, what would encourage the hair to flick out would be if I removed more weight into a layering. Because what that would do is, you think the short hair would push the hair away from the bottom, where this is sitting the hair and pushing it into the outline.
Okay, so I'll answer this one. What scissors are you using? Julian uses B-Max most of the time.
All of the time.
All of the time.
Yeah, and I'm actually, I'm working with BMAC. I'm going to be going to Japan in November, which is really exciting. It'll be my first time in Japan. and I'm working with BMAC to, I'm going to have my own scissor made with my logos from BMAC, which I think is awesome.
It's amazing.
Yeah.
I went number 1.
Ooh, number one's gonna cost you a lot, Wayne.
Oh.
Yeah. The first, he's referring to the first 15 pairs that I make are going to be numbered 1 through 15.
Okay, so Stacy Jollis Casey wants to know, how do you compensate when there is a strong whirl pattern, a cowlick,
Yep.
or the hair growth patterns, light or no tension?
Well, here's the thing. Let's look at it 2 ways. If it's in the outline, I would work with very light or little tension. I hesitate using the word no tension because I find once you touch the hair, you create tension. Also, what would happen is the weight of this haircut will help weigh it down. So guys, trust the line. Cut it with as little tension as possible, but then what you'll realize is each section that comes down on top of it will help hold it down, right? Now, if the swirl's in the crown area, what I might do is cut everything but the crown, dry it, and then blend it in. So you see the sections working now through the side.
Okay, so a couple more questions. Let me find it. Kyra Prince, in your opinion, what makes a bob so attractive? And from Jazz, would you recommend this on curly hair? I think the two kind of go together. So.
Yeah. Well, first, I think it's the simplicity of the bob that makes it so beautiful. And, just has such a strong, iconic look to it. But definitely for me, the simplicity of the line is just beautiful. As far as curly hair, absolutely gorgeous. If you're cutting it on curly hair, be really careful with your tension. Because once you comb it down and cut it, it's going to jump. So you might want to try letting it dry first, naturally curly, and then freehand the line in. It comes out absolutely gorgeous. So again, guys, working the same method that I worked on the first half, keeping the elevation slightly over-directed back, elevation down, working that right into the first side. So you can see, making sure that all blends in.
Okay, so one of the questions, do you prefer to keep the hair completely saturated before you start cutting?
I try to have it wet thoroughly when I start the cut, but I do like to let it dry a little bit as I go, because I can start to see how the hair is reacting to what I'm doing. I find, cutting the hair that's continuously wet it, sometimes it's difficult to get a sense of what you're doing. Head there.
Okay, so another question from Bianca. Are you going to blow dry, and will she be able to see the result?
Yeah.
Yes?
Yeah. I'm going to blow dry. And also because there's so much, guys, to a bob line that's done after the initial basic shape. You get about, if you're lucky, you get it to about 80% perfection when the hair's wet. And then you blow dry it. And then from there, it's all about the refinements. And then, the goal at that point is to take it from that 80% perfection to as close to 100% perfection as you possibly can.
Yeah, and for those of you that have just joined us, Hairbrain has an archive on Facebook where you can see all Julian's classic foundation cutting series. And if you join late, you can watch this from beginning to end as well.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, this will be on the archives. Someone also mentioned about, some of the haircuts that I do on mannequins. I have the full range of, the classic cutting foundation done on mannequins, so that you can really see the fundamentals of everything from one length to layers to graduation. So that's about it for the basic shape. Now what I want to do is I'm going to dry it. I'm going to save the fringe or the bangs for after it's dry. So I'll start out, I'm going to put in, as I said, the blow dry primer. All right. So this is your hair assistant, Tavanus.
And what tips would you give people when applying the product? Because, you know, when people first start out in the industry, you know, I don't know that they necessarily know exactly the best way. What tips would you give them?
Well, first, light. All right. Also, if you notice, I started from the underneath and worked up. Because what I find a lot of times people do is they spray from the top and they never get the product into the hairline. So I started in the hairline and then I worked from the hairline up the head. Also, you see the distance that I keep the product away from the head. So I'm not here putting it in one concentrated area. I back up a little bit and I can get a broader, you know, distribution of the product.
Okay, so once you start your blow dry, we had a question. What advice would you give somebody new to the hairdressing industry?
Oh, like just in general.
Just in general.
Just in general. Well, you know, let's just say after. I'll start with after you graduate beauty school, and you're new to the industry. Find a place to work that has a good education program. Find a place where it has people that are really, you know, going to help look out for you and guide you along the way. I attribute all my success by the people who helped me along the way.
You're welcome.
Thank you, Wayne. And, you know, from the beginning, when I started at Sassoon in 1990 in New York, I had people that really were passionate about sharing and being an educator. And they taught me how to do hair the way I do it. You know, so basically, I mean, obviously, we take things and we kind of, you know, make them our own, right? But, you know, everything that I do, I attribute to the people that taught me. So I'm starting out in the front. I want to get the damp hair off her face and just rolling very lightly the brush through the hair, working from roots to ends. And you see I want to place the hair as I'm blow drying it. I don't believe in any kind of rough dry. I don't want to rough up the cuticle. I may wrap dry the hair initially to remove some moisture, but I think Juice's hair isn't, you know, it's not that wet where I need to. So I'm going to go right in with leaping and get control of the hair right from the beginning. Look at that color, guys. Sorry.
Yeah,
That's absolutely beautiful.
She has beautiful eyebrows. And Karen wants to know, what kind of brush are you using?
This is a vest brush. This is the Sassoon version. You can get this on, I believe, the Sassoon Pro Shop, right? They also have other ones made by Vest that come in really cool colors, you know. But this is great. It's a nylon bristled brush, and it glides through the hair really easily and doesn't tangle it or damage it at all. The blow dryer is the one that is on Hairbrained Pro, just in case you asked. All right, so it's R Sessions Pro Tools. All right, so that's the logo for it. We had to modify it with some pretty stickers.
Okay, so a couple questions. Do you prefer not to use a nozzle or a diffuser?
Oh, I love a diffuser. I used a diffuser this morning. I had a client come in, and she had beautiful curly hair. And, you know, the diffuser is the tool to go. For a blow dry with this type of brush and a natural blow dry, I don't need the nozzle. I don't need the air so condensed into one place. Now, if you're round brushing or if you're altering the texture of the hair, yeah, nozzle definitely, because it's going to intensify the airflow. It's also going to intensify the amount of heat that hits the hair. But again, I'm not altering the hair that much, so I don't need that. You know, I don't want to do anything unnecessary to the hair.
Okay, so yeah, I mean, I think with everything, we've got a couple more comments about Malvas. Malvas are amazing, they've got their place.
Yeah.
Another question about, would you use a round brush for this particular type of haircut?
You could. It would give you a more, I think, affected, I'll use that word, look, where this is going to give me a more natural finish. You know, so if I wanted to really add bevel, where let's say the hair was quite coarse, you know, guys, look how smooth and shiny her hair is blow drying. You know, I don't need to do anything that's going to damage her hair in any way, shape, or form. You know, and I get this question, and I'm not being a smarty pants, but people will say, well, why do you know, you have to use it with the nozzle, and I always use the nozzle. Well, why does it come off, right? So yeah, to put a diffuser on. Yeah, but also to blow dry with a more diffused airflow.
A question about the color, what product was used. The color was done with Davenant's products, and we will put the formula in the comments after everything is done.
Yeah, I believe she used the mask on this, no?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. But just look at, like, I mean, just look at the different colors that are in there that are absolutely gorgeous. You know, Roberta, I've worked with, you know, I've known for a very, very, very long time, and she's an amazing colorist. And I mean, now look what she's doing with these beautiful products and these beautiful tones. So, also I was saying, her Instagram, I can't spell her last name, sorry guys, but her Instagram is on the flyer that I posted. And you'll see it says free color by Roberta, and it has the spelling of her last name on her Instagram. But what we'll do is we'll do some finished photographs of this haircut, and then we'll have the formula put out for the color.
Okay, question, did you start with Sassoon or did you go to the cosmetology school?
No, I did not go to Sassoon Cosmetology, but I started my professional career very early on with Vidal Sassoon in New York. I started I graduated beauty school in 88, 89, and then I started at Sassoon in New York in 1990. So, you know, at a very early stage in my career, I started with Sassoon. I did their apprenticeship program in a combination of New York and also here in Los Angeles. And that was my first experience at the school, the Vidal Sassoon Academy, which is located in Santa Monica, 3rd Street Promenade.
Yeah, but an amazing opportunity for anybody that's just joining the industry. If you can move out to Santa Monica and go to the academy, what an amazing start to your career.
Always love to give credit where, you know, credit's due, and that's where I learned to cut hair, guys.
Jazz says, oh my God, I was a baby when you graduated.
Jazz, come on, man. Be nice. I'm just kidding.
Julian graduated when he was at 9. He's very young, like in the UK.
Yeah. I started, like I said, I went to beauty school in 1987. So that's before you were born, Jazz. And then I started at Sassoon in 90. I worked at Sassoon for 20 years. I had the opportunity to work with some really, you know, amazing people, friends and colleagues, and, you know, great hairstylists, but just a great group of people. So just wrapping the nape area where the hair is a little bit shorter to get it to sit down really nicely.
Alright, so a few more blow dryer questions.
Yep.
Christina Rice. thought not to use the blow dryer without the end piece because of the metal on the end of the blow dryer could cause breakage and can burn the hair.
Nah, I mean, you know, it's back in there.
Yeah, I think it's all about the way that you use it as well.
Yeah,
So.
and you can see I'm constantly moving. I'm not setting the hair in one specific area. You know, so there's a constant motion. I mean, obviously, you don't want the hair to get in there. That probably wouldn't be a good thing. You know, it's a very frequent question, and I think the industry standard is, you know, that most people keep the nozzle on, which is great. Doesn't make it right for all situations. Doesn't make it wrong either. You know the effect of what you're doing, and know the effect it's going to have on the hair. You know, and do what's right for it. You know, like we had some great questions earlier by someone asking about, you know, could you do this with a razor? I'm like, yeah, of course you could. You know, is it going to be a little bit different? Well, yeah, the razor cuts differently than the scissor, so you'll have a bit of a different effect. But I would never say you have to do this with a scissor. I would never say you have to do it with a razor. I would never say you have to blow dry with or without the nozzle. It's know the effect of it, and you know, do what you think's right.
All right, so question from Bianca Rodriguez. No need to texturize the cut. What's your take?
Hopefully not. You know, I don't think I will.
We'll see, right?
Yeah, something like this. I mean, I want to keep it as pure as possible. You know, and you know, this is about a clean line. You know, texturizing is going to alter, you know, that clean line. I don't need to add texture to this. I see a lot of times with graduation where people might be a little bit heavy in one area, you know, and they use texturizing as an eraser. You know, I don't really like that so much. But hopefully I'll be able to do it all with a nice clean, what we call club cutting, blunt cutting.
Right, so Brian Gibson, the bob is my go-to haircut. I'm excited to see what you do with the fringe. Yeah, we haven't talked about the fringe yet.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get there. We're gonna get there, Ryan. I think, you know, I'm gonna keep it quite blunt on Juice. So right now what I'm doing is I'm just blow drying the fringe with the, you know, if you cut it blunt, bang, with a nice natural movement. I find I just got into, I just got into a conversation, you know, with a friend of mine. You know, it's the debate over, well, is it fringe or are they bangs? You know, first of all, I'm American, so I grew up on bangs. I did work for a British company, so I did get accustomed to using the word fringe. But I've come to the conclusion, this is funny, if I cut it blunt, it's a bang. If I layer it and do it kind of soft, it's fringe, because it looks fringy.
Makes sense.
But you call it what you want. In Germany, they call it a pony.
Do they?
Do they? They do. I learned that from my friend Katya. Anybody know what they call it in Spanish? Or any other? Hey guys, here's a good one. For all of you guys out there that are watching in different countries and different places, what do they call this in your language? Start to post that and have some fun. I'm curious.
Now I'm going to have to read, you know, fringe in different languages.
And now you're going to have to try to read it in other languages. And why do you think I did it, Wayne? So again, just look how beautiful that blow dries with the color. You know, the cuticle is just so smooth, so shiny. I don't need to do a lot with the blow dry, guys. I don't need to try to pull and tug on the hair too much. What I'm trying to do is just kind of give it a little bit of guidance. I don't need to scold it. That was pretty good, wasn't it, Wayne?
That was.
You like that?
Yeah.
Just going to give her a little bit of guidance.
Fleco in Spanish. Yeah, we're getting a lot of response.
Oh,
People
good.
are posting, but I don't know what language it is. So.
Okay. Well, we'll have to do translation later. So again, guys, just you know, if you're just tuning in, cutting on a variation of a bob with graduation. This is Juice, who I'm cutting her hair. The color was done a few days ago by my colleague Roberta Galaro. She used all Davines color products. You know, beautiful reds here. I think, you know, the color's absolutely gorgeous. But what's not only gorgeous, just the condition of the hair is great. The cuticle, just super shiny and healthy. We will be posting the color formula because I'm sure a lot of you are curious. Juice went to Roberta's salon here in Los Angeles a couple days ago, had her color done.
Yep, Roberta works at a salon called Helmet here in the Beverly Hills, West Hollywood area.
Again, just this nape area. I'm just going to get control of the hair, starting to get a little bit messy. So I'm just going to control it with some wrapping. I don't want to let it dry in a state where the cuticle is roughed up, so just smoothing it through.
Yeah, I mean, when I used to teach, I always used to say, you know, if you're blow drying it and it doesn't look good as you're blow drying it, you got to kind of change the direction that you're blow drying.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, and it just got a little bit tangly from me brushing it up and getting it out of the way. And then if it dries like that, even though I didn't hit it with the brush, once it dries fuzzy, it's a lot harder to smooth out. You know, that's one of the reasons why I don't rough dry things, because then you spend more time trying to smooth it.
Chris Vargas says, your eye is looking better.
Thanks, Chris.
For those that didn't tune in last week, Julian got attacked by a polar bear.
Yeah. You should see the polar bear, though, guys. But, yeah, I had a nice black eye there.
Somebody didn't like their haircut.
Yeah.
I'm joking.
It's funny because, you know, I like the polar bear story. The polar bear story is good because it just happened really stupid, you know. But I couldn't come up with a good enough story.
Polar bear.
I'm going with the polar bear.
I'm here to help.
Yeah.
Okay, so if you're just tuning in, you can always go back to Hairbrain's Facebook page. Go to Julian's Classic Foundation Cutting Series, and you can watch the video from beginning to end, as well as all the videos that he's done over the last, 18 months?
About 18 months, yeah. All right, Juice, just lift up. So now through the crown, I'm just wrapping through, allowing the hair to go into where it naturally wants to fall. I don't want to, again, I want to guide it. I don't want to force it to do anything that it doesn't want. You know, so with the crown, I'm trying to get a nice even distribution with the growth pattern. Again, you see this beautiful color. You know, there's just beautiful dimensions of color that Roberta's put in.
Wait till we get it outside.
Yeah.
And I just wanted to say a big welcome to Julian from the Davness family. I know we've got a lot of Davness viewers on. We want to thank Hairbrain for allowing us to use this opportunity to let everybody know if you're in the Davness family and beyond, you can book Julian through your distributor or your sales associate. But this bob's looking amazing, Julian.
Thanks, man. Looking good. Yeah, I mean, I might have met some of you when we were at Karma at the Worldwide Hair Tour, which was amazing. I was only there for like 3 days, so I think the whole time I was a little bit jet lagged. But I had a great time meeting so many people.
It's a good place to be jet lagged.
It's a good place to be jet lagged, yeah, because you're just tired and you want to eat all the time. I met a group of people out from Grand Rapids in Michigan, where I'm going to be going soon to do a class, which is going to be really good. I can't wait to do that. You know, something also, you know, we spoke a little bit about earlier, and like Wayne said, I mean, if you're in the Davness family and you want to see, what's the name of the website, Wayne?
Davness Pro.
Davness Pro. You can also check out on my website for independent education,
Goldpig.me.
Goldpig.me, which is on my Instagram bio. Or you can just really simply, guys, just email me. My email's on my Instagram.
Which is Julian Pearl.
Julian Pearl, P-E-R-L. Part of my last name, not like a pearl, like a little white thing that you find in an oyster, I believe. So, I mean, guys, just look how light I'm blow drying this. And just look at the shine. Just look at, like, the cuticle is so smooth. And I don't need to do much to it. I'm just wrapping through this top back and forth to get a nice even flow with the hair.
Yeah, I mean, it's refreshing to see that you're not overstressing the hair.
No.
Because that's what you're used to doing.
Yeah.
And then, you know, you can just put a nice finish by going through and wrap drying.
You know, I also, with blow drying it, wrapping it back and forth, what I'm doing is I'm encouraging movement to the hair. I want the hair to move. I don't want it to be stiff. I don't want it to be forced in any place. I think clients are a little bit, you know, looser with their hair. You know, they like to see it move around. They want to see that it can, you know, go from side to side. I mean, just look at the variation in color when you switch it from side to side. How much, you know, we get this beautiful, you know, color through the top when I part it on this side, and then I can kind of part it against it, and it's not so apparent. So, you know, you just get these beautiful shades, these beautiful variations of colors coming through. Just letting the hair cool a little bit. Now remember, you know, I said when we do the basic shape, we're only going to get it to about 80% perfection on a good day. And then from there, everything is done afterwards to get the perfect finish on it. You know, I like to do these things live so that you can see, because a lot of times, you know, just due to time, they're edited out of a video, and then you're in the salon doing something, you're going, oh my God, my haircut doesn't look great. Well, no, it's not finished yet. I need to make sure, you know, that you guys know, okay, at this stage of the game, this is all right, this is acceptable. Is it finished? No, I'll make it look better. No movie magic on this. No editing. All right, so what I want to do, I'm going to start out in the back. Let me spin her around the other way. And now tilt the head down. And you can see the graduation. Now I'm going to start with the outline and just start to work the line in, just to get this as clean as possible.
I'm going to switch it over here.
Now, when I'm cutting the hair dry, you'll notice I work from the center out, but then I also will work back in. So I'll work from the face towards the back. Right, and I'm not really worrying about that top overhang. I'll get to that. Just more or less concentrating on the line of the hair, you know, and then also, you know, maybe just if the hair's not sitting really perfectly sometimes and it's difficult to get in the scissor, working with the tip of the scissor, I can still create a really lean looking line, or clean looking line, working with the tips.
I just wanted to give a shout out to Aaron Johnson, who just joined.
Oh, how's it going, Aaron? Hope you're good and having a good summer, man. All right, so now from here, I'm just gonna lift this a little bit away from the skin. Get in there. So what that does is just allows me, cutting it on her skin is getting a little bit difficult. It's quite hot here right now in Los Angeles. So the hair is sticking to the skin a little bit. So I'm just lifting it out away from the skin to get that line again as clean as possible. Just give that a little tap to the back of the spine. It's not bad.
And not photoshopped.
Yeah. Whew. Started sweating more, man. All right, so now working through the other side. So I'm going through the same real procedure that I did initially when the hair was wet. Cut the outline first, then did the graduation. You spinner. So I'm just working on perfecting the outline as much as possible, and then I'll go into the graduation. You know, it's also, I mean, like I said, Roberta and I have worked together, so we kind of know each other's work. And I mean, you can see by the placement of the color, you know, she knows where to place it just so that it fits into the haircut, you know. So you can see the darker pieces coming through just behind the ear, and how right as the graduation, it wouldn't look as good if it was back here. Right,
So it's all about placement.
It's all about the placement. It's not just, yeah, guys. It's not just about getting the tone right, but it's where you put it, and is it going to complement the haircut? Is it going to complement the overall look? And I just think, you know, the placement of that's absolutely gorgeous, along with the tone. You know, so on every level, the tone, the placement, and the condition and the shine. All right, so I'm going to go into the graduation now. I'm going to switch to a same BMAC, but just a smaller scissor. Give me a little bit more detail. I'm going to work back through. No, you're fine. So now, working this through.
Getting a lot of love. It's beautiful. The color
thanks,
is
guys.
beautiful. Cut's beautiful. Thank you, everybody, for watching and commenting.
The color's making me look good, guys. So you see the line? Just dusting it off, just polishing it, man. Just polishing it. You know, that's the parameters in which we live with a good haircut. You know, it's less than a 16th, less than a 32nd of an inch. And really just getting everything as tight as possible. Starting to think about the front now.
Okay, so Kimberly Younger, why smaller shears?
Just a little bit more control, a little bit more accuracy. I can maneuver them a little bit more, and I'm working on a curve. So it allows me to curve them. I don't know if you're a snowboarder or a skier, but if you think about a long ski or a long snowboard, you're going to go really fast, really quick, right? But a small one you can do lots of tricks on. You can maneuver it and control it a little bit differently. So with the smaller scissors, it gives me the ability to really get in and detail the haircut. So, and really work on, the curvature of the line. You notice I'm only cutting with the very beginning of the scissor. And when you're working on a curve, just that motion, like watch my hand, guys. So just watch that motion of my pinky. Like people don't cut with a pinky rest, right? You're losing a certain element of mobility. By putting my finger there, I'm pulling this, and what does it do to the tip of my scissor? So as I'm cutting, I'm doing this, right? I'm working this way. So it's all about maneuvering the scissor. It's all about controlling the tool. Are you cutting with just the tip of the scissor, or are you cutting with the blunt of the scissor, right? When I'm doing detail work, I'm cutting more so with the tip. So while I don't need a long scissor, it's the same thing when I'm doing clipper work. Sometimes I work with the whole blade. Sometimes I work with just the edge of the clipper when I'm detailing the hairlines and things like that.
So what was the size of the scissor when you did the basic shape?
5.5.
Now
5.5 to 5. Right. I would say if you were going to use one pair of scissors, a 5.5 is the way to go, because you can kind of go back and forth. Once you start getting above 6, the detail work can be a little bit trickier, a little bit harder. I'm not saying you can't do it, but it's a little bit harder. And then if you just have a set of 5s, sometimes cutting really thick hair into blunt lines, you're working quite hard, harder than you need to. So if you have one pair, I would say a 5.5 would be the way to go.
So it's like the 3 bears, right?
Yeah.
I'm on this bear kick today.
You are, Wayne. Polar bears, now nursery rhymes. I could say something really bad, but I won't. All right, so again, just cleaning that line up.
And you're just dusting.
Oh,
right?
man, it's not even dusting; it's polishing.
Nothing's really coming off. You're just making sure.
But you can hear, right? You can hear the scissor hitting the hair.
Yeah, which I think is a great example. A lot of times, you feel like nothing's really coming off. You got to kind of feel that.
Oh, yeah. You can feel it. You can hear it. Again, back to clippers. It's like, it doesn't look like sometimes something's coming off, but I can hear if the clipper's hitting the hair. Right? I can hear it hitting it, and I can hear it cutting it. So I know I'm not done. Same thing here. Every line's coming out. And then just really lightly working that through.
All right, so Lindsay Mason, do you find as a stylist one side goes better than the other side?
I would say, as a stylist, I find that one side goes different than the other side. The growth patterns are different on one side from the other. Generally speaking, the hair grows like a fingerprint in a semicircular motion. And that's why it's so important to comb the hair back and find the natural distribution, which will start at the swirl in the crown area. And then you'll notice the hair works swirling around the head from that point. So you get this motion that goes kind of opposite, you know, it would be kind of the default way of describing. It's not that simple, but yeah, definitely it falls and grows slightly different on one side than the other. I like them both though. You know, you don't want to try to ask the hair to do something it doesn't want to do anyway, you know. I think that's the thing. I want both sides. I want it to be as symmetric as possible. I want it to be as clean as possible. I want it to be as precise as possible. But at the end of the day, no two sides are ever going to look identical.
Yeah, Kimberly Unger says, sides are like sisters, not twins.
There we go. You know, and again, it's sometimes misleading to say to, you know, a younger hairstylist or a newer hairstylist. When I say younger, I mean in experience. Because it sounds like, well, then it doesn't matter if they look the same. Well, no, they need to work together. They both need to look beautiful. They just are never going to look exactly the same. Right? And a lot of times when they do look too exact, it doesn't work on the face because the face is not symmetric. Right? And if you put a perfectly symmetric or a perfectly balanced line on a surface that isn't perfectly balanced, well, it's going to actually emphasize the asymmetry within the bone structure, which, you know, very often can make someone look worse. You know, so, I mean, it's making the person look good, it's making both sides look beautiful, but treating them as individuals as well.
Okay, so a question from Jeremy Hickinson. I noticed you comb over the hair and sometimes you comb from under.
Yeah.
Is one better than the other?
Different, Jeremy. There's like a little hair in my face. When I comb down, I'm building weight. When I comb up, I'm erasing or removing weight. So if I want to encourage lightness in something, like you saw on the top, I was pushing up away, right? So what that's going to do is it's going to just bevel it through a little bit and make it softer. When I'm combing down, I'm building the weight into the graduation. Good question. Good eye too, man. That was definitely
say a big hello to Richie Rivera.
Hey, Richie. How's it going? Richie is a great friend of Wayne and mine, who is based in Boston, who is, you know, I'm not even going to go with his full title, but Richie is, you know, one of the color extraordinaires at Vidal Sassoon.
He's a North American color director.
There we go. I knew you would know it. It's way too much for me to remember. So I like these kind of pieces in the front, and the last time I cut her hair, I left some kind of awkward lengths that were from a grown-out haircut because I didn't want it to look too perfect. I wanted it to have a little bit of edge to it. So what I'm going to first start out doing, I'm going to go back to the heavier scissor because I want to cut a blunt line in. And then I'll work that top length. So let me get on this side, Wayne. All right, so from here what I'm going to do is I'm going to work from the center out. And just let the scissor push the hair initially. I'm not worrying about it. I don't need to hold it in place. Just get those longer bits out of the way. So I'm just going to come back in with the tip of the scissor. Now, I'm cutting right down on the skin, but I'm using the blade and I'm just making sure that I'm cutting with the flat part of the blade on the skin. So it's sure not to cut the skin. So now I'll start to work the other side, but again, I want to get this top area out of the way. Let the hair fall really natural and separate. Again, I'm just going to start out and just let that scissor push the hair a little bit into the corner, which is not going to give me a perfect line, but it'll give me a perfect line. Not double perfect. And then I'll go back through with the tip of the scissor.
Any tips on, how far back you should go with a fringe?
Well, I like it to go past the cheekbone. Yeah. I don't want to stop here and have the line cover her face. I want to open that up. I want to show off the cheekbone. And then just before I reach the hairline. Now, if I was to go into the hairline further back, you can do it, but you're in a whole different look now.
It's a commitment.
It's a definite commitment. So this is a little bit more traditional. It's a good word. Juice is such a traditional girl. Mm-hmm. See, Roberta was playing off my pieces as well. She put some beautiful darker pieces, and there's that piece of hair I didn't cut. Again, just knowing your colorist and making sure, if you do it together, just knowing your haircut and making sure everything works nicely together.
Lot of love, beautiful haircut, beautiful color. Mario says bravo.
That's kind of cool, eh?
Yeah, looks nice with a bit of texture to it as well.
And I like hair to move around, guys. I like it to move. Cut it clean. But she's going to walk around. She's going to move. The wind's going to hit it. Right, so a little bit of perfect imperfection in the sense of, rather than trying to get it to be, like this perfect line here, or this perfect line here, which is absolutely gorgeous. I'm not gonna knock Vidal. These beautiful perfect lines. We cut them, right, in the hair, but then the hair has to have life to it. The hair has to move around, and I think. Juice appreciates that, and I think clients appreciate that, that it always looks good, it always falls into place, but it never falls the same, right? When I used to work at the Sassoon in New York, it was a different time. We had clients come all over, and they wanted, They wanted, their bob lines to be like this, and it had to fall exactly in this part, and it had to fall exactly, and if one piece of hair was out of place, then it was wrong. Well, with this, I cut it so that all the hair is falling in place, but when I style it, just let it live, let it breathe a little bit, and it has to look good in motion, right? There's nothing more beautiful. Someone was talking about what makes a bob so beautiful. I think there's nothing more beautiful than a bob in motion. So I'm just going to get a little... No, you're good. You can sit up. Get a little bit of the neck hair off you. that we got on there. Again, it's a little bit hot here in Los Angeles, so the hair tends a little bit sticky.
Well, it's on fire, isn't it?
And it's on fire. So here's our bob line, guys, with a little bit of graduation. I think she came out gorgeous, but I mean, that was easy to do with Juice. So again, you know, bob haircut, cut the blunt line, a little bit of graduation to it, strong bangs, right? Hair color by Roberta, who is on the flyer. She did the pre-color at her salon a couple days ago. Beautiful reds by Davinus. So I hope you guys like it, and we'll post a finished picture. All right?
Thank you.
Thanks, guys.